live.
We got a Brady Bunch packed office this morning. It's going to be a great episode today. We got Dean, Saturday, Dan, Jeff. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
Hey Ryan, when you go to chat roll, I'm thinking our good old restreams is still having some issues. Go to chat roll. Is your access denied?
No, I'm good.
Oh yeah, there is no chats up there.
Yeah.
I just noticed that, Dan.
Mm-hmm. So Ryan denied my access to the chat. Okay.
No, I didn't deny anybody's access to anything.
Ryan.
Sure. Oh, good morning, Lisa.
Oh, yeah. So I can't see them. So you're gonna have to be.
Got you.
You're gonna have to be the orchestrator of the chat.
Yeah, the moderator. I like to call it the moderator. So
there we go.
Good morning, Dean. I love the background today. Like no couch and no dogs. We're kind of missing it out today, but
and he's not driving. He's not driving.
I
had to throw that in there.
Safety first. Dean, I saw something like really interesting yesterday on your show yesterday. In terms of like pumpkins, like it was I think it was like they set a world record in North America in terms of pumpkins. Could you just elaborate a little bit on that? I'll start off with a little cheeky
Yeah. I was pumpkin harvest this year and had a late start, dry summer, and would have been pretty quick for pumpkins because they might apply, and then there's soda in Illinois, and it's kind of, they call it the pumpkin capital of the world. And then the story I want to talk about, the world has been set this year. 25 months was this pumpkin 1 point, and was set this year. So it's record was set this year but that's not the heaviest.
Dean, I hate to interrupt you. Do you have any headphones? Because I think your speakerphone is like not catching everything that you're saying.
Yeah, it's going in and out.
Technology on.
See if I can get headphones on here. Is that any better, guys?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it seems
like it. Yeah.
No.
This.
Yeah, it's cutting in and out.
We got the technical difficulties week.
Yeah, try those earbuds.
Yeah. All right. Else while I do this.
Yeah, it's total police academy where he's like,
yeah, exactly.
or those Japanese companies where you're like, how you doing?
In the meantime, good morning, Ashley. Nice to see you out this morning. And so what the stat that Dean was actually talking about, guys, was that there was a new North American record for pumpkins set at 2,560 pounds, or it's equivalent to 853 pumpkin pies. Just alone, right? And think about that, right? Like that's such an amazing stat to actually think about as we're kind of going into Halloween. Halloween being next Monday or Tuesday or so, coming back to it. But yeah, welcome Dean back.
Yep, still going in and out. Yeah, put earplugs in.
They're in.
Yeah, he's got them in.
Oh,
they're in. Microphone here.
Yeah, you're still cutting in and out there, Dean.
Still can't hear me?
No, we can hear you. We can hear you now.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have to Ryan to finish up in the world. The heaviest pumpkin in the world was about 150 pounds heavy. Big pumpkins. It's a lot of pumpkins. It's a lot of pumpkin pies.
And is there an increase in pumpkins from this year to last year? How many more pumpkins?
I'm going to turn this off, guys. God.
We can hear you now.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
We can hear you.
I was
We can
always
hear
kind of
you.
like told, you know, like I got a face radio.
This is terrible. All right. So I can get rid of these earphones. Is that any better? No.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of the speakerphone. I notice sometimes speakerphones, they drop words and stuff when they're too far away.
Right. Yeah, this is I've got an appointment at 9:20. I can't. Apologies for all this mix-up, guys. But
it's okay, buddy.
You can hear me okay still?
Yeah, now we can hear you okay.
Yeah. I think in the little bit of time, my God, I produce season and how it shifts this year, which is where off. Is that a good sort of segue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go for it. Yep.
So, fall, right? So think about fall harvest. You've got sugar, a bunch of stuff happening, but not a lot of time to do it. And that's when you start to get into this time of the year. Like sugar beets, they literally have 3 weeks to do it. Most of it's out. But what you see is some other things happen. This is for, carry body and logistics to think about fall because it's where produce shifts. So from about 22 produce growing regions, this week it's down to 12. We're down to about half the growing regions. Yakima Valley, Red Florida, things like that. So where they grow produce, so a big shift. Blueberry season. We've got pumpkins, potatoes. It's potatoes, onions get stored over the winter. What you also see is the strawberries that in January, February out of the Plant City Strawberry Festival is on late February, being planted in hot houses now, and they're put in the ground. So this is when you start to transition to both and all types of vegetables and fruits, but it's also important thing because capacity moves. So we fewer loads of produce coming out, like Fresno, Yakima Valley, to markets upstate New York, and it's latitudes where it's warmer. For example, Church Brothers Farms in Salino, the majority of the country, just south of San Salinas Valley. Church Brothers Farm literally put their entire lettuce on about 65 flatbed trucks, but all the way to Yuma, Arizona. 72 hours, they put it back up down there down on the border. Fascinating logistical exercise. They do this twice a year. Why? Because the Yuma, Arizona Bowl, 90% of our leafy greens over. So if you think about, where does a lot of it's going to have to run empty from San Diego or Arizona to load lettuce, and you're talking about 4 a day come out of that area. So of how the produce market shifts. Now, the other thing that happens is we'll start to go from South Africa, from a southern latitude where it's summer. You'll see a lot more troops, black blackberries, blueberries coming in from, and they come into port markets. So they'll come into Mobile. Most of them's going to come into, right? So you see a lot of produce comes into the Philadelphia. So you'll see a lot of reefer carriers sit on the near the Holt logistics, like trucking, reefer operation facility there, and a lot of volume comes out of there. So show you that the market's changed, where freight comes from changes, and of course we'll the upturn in tomato cocoa, which sort of peaks in about May each year, and start coming in across the southern border for Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep.
So the southern border is warmer. You'll see a lot more produce come from Mexico, come from Florida, but you'll also start to see it at port, and that's why volumes constant, but they just shift where they move from. And so
Was that it?
yeah, well, I could go on. I thought I'd shut up for a bit.
No. That was good. I was trying to piece it all together as you were talking, because it kind of reminded me of speaking to my kids when they were teenagers. They were leaving every third word out, just so it's like hieroglyphics and stuff. And I'm trying to get it, Dean, but you were still cutting out a bit. And I'm like, okay, did he just say Mexico? And did he just say yeah? Okay,
I tried to throw the closed captioning in, but the closed captioning wasn't picking it up either.
Yeah. So, but understanding the reefer markets are shifting, you're seeing a lot more shift that used to happen. In other words,
right, and you're also seeing what we call capacity migration. So capacity migration, where right, so pull a waste hauler van or gas, or a dry van guy will jump under a logging. So you see this time of the year, you'll start to transition from what they've been hauling. What you don't see is a lot of drivers, a lot of small fleet guys for the different seasons. Just one size fits all. They shift markets throughout the course of the year.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense. Before you go, what have you seen with the peak season versus non-peak season? We were actually talking about it yesterday, and it's funny because then I got an article from Wall Street Journal today saying peak season is no longer same thing as a couple of years now. It's been happening. What are you seeing on your side, Dean?
Pretty much the volumes are holding up pretty solid. They're flat lining at about 3%. Peak season, when they're talking about imports, predominantly truckload volume in the country, the vast comes from the manufacturing industrial sector. Miller would tell us that 63% of the income from manufacturing, and I think this morning shows that manufacturing numbers are up year over. There's still demand out there. The point with peaks, and like a lot of the retail inventory was pulled forward, and I and Ryan talked about last week, which is why you've got a full of inventory. A lot of that peak season you would normally see in September, October, in June, I suspect, and that's why we saw that East Coast still, working its way out of this.
Yep.
That makes sense. And hopefully next week, maybe we can get into what we're looking at, what's projected for the next couple of months. So I think that'll be
this is right. Diesel's up 50 cents in 2 weeks. That's going to put a lot of pressure on cocaine at the moment while rates hold. We were seeing before OPEC decided to cut production. I think the diesel markets will probably put it on that. Operating costs are up somewhere 60 weeks So carriers are going to take a beat. But that said, Davey Hunt, Martin are still reporting record 30, right? So that the trucking industry is still doing for 9 months. And I think they're a little bit more pessimistic about this quarter because I think people realize like they normally do, because we've already is the message. I'm more worried the first quarter of next year. I think is going to be. I think diesel prices will have the biggest impact. If
I am, where is it? Bear with me here. Container imports in September were down 12.4% from August, an unusual drop for peak season, according to the research from Descartes. Rail and trucking volumes are falling too, forcing freight operations to drop peak season surcharges and lowering earning expectations across the board. That's what they're saying in the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, that's certainly on the networks haven't imposed any surcharges of any because their volumes are down. Truckload, I think they'll obviously sell clicks, really solid volumes in the spot market, which is really industry. So, but I wouldn't say it's things are, but we always knew that volumes would be quiet. Activity happened over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I need to probably go, guys.
Yep, no problem, Dean.
No problem, Dean.
Apologies for that.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right.
We got a little Police Academy moment here in the morning. We got a little deciphering the hieroglyphics. We're good.
We're good, man. We're good. We're trying to put it out, but you know what? Boys. It's about that time. It's that time to get into the DAT lane of the day.
Oh, there you.
See how I pivoted that one?
That was a really good pivot. That was a really good
I'm trying. I'm learning as I go, It's learning as you go. But today's DAT lane of the day is going to be Reefer out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, going to Denver, Colorado. Line haul RPM is looking at $4.60 a mile. All in with fuel is looking at $5.32 a mile. Contract is looking at $2.97 a mile with fuel. And year-to-year line haul change has been minus $1.79. The comments on this one is that there's been recent upward movement on this lane due to possible green chili harvest or the Mexico imports. The current rate is $2.08 higher than the September average. So those prices are going up,
That's quite a big difference between the spot market and contract rates on that lane, though.
Truth.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. It's a big one, and one thing I actually wanted Dean to actually kind of get into from a show yesterday was that toy imports, so toys, like kids' toys, are actually up 5% across the board, and kind of want to get your thoughts on it, because when I read that, I was thinking to myself, when I was a kid, what did we have? Every year there was always that one toy, right? Like you had to get it. Tickle Me Elmo, the Tamagotchis, the PS4s. And I don't know how about you guys, because like I see little kids, my nieces, nephews, and cousins, they're more digital. They got their parents' cell phone. They're talking about what's that game? Battle Royale, like all these things. So what do you guys kind of think about like toy imports itself, those being up in these times?
Well, I mean, my kids, it's been electronics for years now, right? They're 23 and 22 or 21. And it gets harder as Christmas goes on as to what to get them. But I do remember when Jessica was younger, when she was 5 or 6, we would get the Sears book. And she would go through, and everything would be circled, like everything.
Or the Toys R Us book.
It would be crazy. Yeah. And it was like, and then you're looking at it, you're like, okay, $7,000 later, it's not happening. But then as they got older, when it was phones, it was like accessories for the phones.
Yes.
The cases and all that kind of stuff. Then it was, well, I have the phone, now I need the iPad. And I prefer the iPad mini because I have small hands and all this other kind of stuff. So then it kind of moved up into that electronics world. But you're right. And then it goes into PS4 or the new Xbox 360, whatever D it is. And it changes, right? And it shifts. And, you know, Jeff, you've been through it. You have grown kids. You know, that shift sometimes leaves a hole in you because you enjoy that. You know, I used to love seeing the kids like, towers of like toys around them, and like, you know, one toy was in a box like this big and it was like $6, you know, and that those days aren't there. I mean, I used to sleep when I was a kid. I used to sleep in front of the Christmas tree. My brother and I used to sleep right under the Christmas tree, and we would wake up and there was just toys everywhere. And I remember I was really big into G.I. Joe and He-Man, and G.I. Joe had the aircraft carrier. And I wanted that aircraft carrier. Like, I wanted it so bad. And I actually got it one Christmas, but I got the aircraft carrier and I didn't get about 12 other things that I wanted. And this is the year I found out about Mr. Claus. And it was interesting because as the things get more expensive, the pool shrinks from the amount of presents, right? So it's I mean, this year I don't know enough about toys. We don't have very many young kids in our family anymore. I mean, they're all, you know, 10, 12, 13. But I would assume there's got to be one of those killer toys out there. I don't see very many commercials for toys anymore.
I don't see much choice. Even the logistics side, Jeff. Like, how do you? I know you've kind of worked in retail as well. Like, have you kind of seen that on your side?
Well, no, I haven't seen it, and to Dan's point, I haven't seen any real commercials about that. But I think what it comes down to is how do you define toys? I guess it comes to what age you are, right? Because I mean, some time ago, I wish the toys that my daughter likes now were as cheap as they were back then. It's a whole different thing now, you know, and things.
You got to have a Jeff Shiny fund. Money put away for something shiny for Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. But if you think, let's just think about this, right? In almost every plastic toy out there, oil is part of that. They use oil in building those plastics. So if you think about the increase in cost in fuel and crude oil and everything that has to do with oil, you know that the price of toys are going up. And now we're in that recession mode, you know, everybody's really tight. So where we used to buy a plethora of toys and line that tree and it was just complete mayhem in the morning, it's not so much. I don't think it's going to be that much this year just because of that. When you think about, you know, the cost of a toy and the shipping behind it, I mean, it's the trickle down effect, right? If rates are up here that we're purchasing it, the cost of goods are going to go up too. And we as consumers, even being logistics professionals, are going to pay for that, you know? So I don't really see that being something big this year. I don't know how you guys feel, but I just don't see it for those simple reasons.
I see it like being big for like reverse logistics when we're talking January and February. Like kids are telling their parents, "Hey, you picked up the wrong Superman toy," you know. So this is not the one I want. So you got to return it. And like you said, like plastic, it comes from oil, right? So these kids are going to open up these toys, and you know, you just got to factor in that reverse logistics charge, because I assume most toys you can't just put it back on the shelf as it comes in, right? Like it has to go somewhere, get repackaged, and whatever they kind of do too. And
disinfected.
Yeah, even the LTL space about it, because I know, Dan, you kind of introduced me to like a kid's toy maker previously, and the conversations I had with them is like they're all LTL. You know, you're never going to see a full truckload of Hot Wheels going into a Walmart or a Costco. It's always going to be LTL.
Well, I'll tell you what. Some time ago, when Toys R Us were really, really big, you saw truckloads of that stuff being all over the place. You don't see that as much now, but there was a time, Ryan, where there were full truckloads of that material moving, you know, but it was a different time, a different era, you know.
Well, it was a pre-Amazon era to start.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even so we do, you know, we're shifting more towards experiences versus
that's the thought that
physical
I had,
things.
Yeah.
And it's something that we really want because our kids are at the age where they would love the experience, but they can't afford the experience from their own pockets, right? They're trying to, you know, pay off school debt and all this kind of stuff. So that's kind of the shift that we made. You know, so like my son's going to South Carolina to golf for a week with his buddies. We paid for his trip, his like he's jumping in a car with his buddies and going. But my wife and I for Christmas paid for his accommodations and all his golf.
Nice.
And so that's his Christmas present. So that's going to live with him through his pictures and his conversations with his buddies for decades to come.
Yeah.
Right. And anytime it comes up, he's going to know mom and dad help me get there, help me do it. You know, same thing with his motorcycle. So these are things that we've chosen to do, as opposed to, hey, do you want to open 15 boxes at Christmas? And I don't know about you guys, but as the kids were growing up, we would find unopened toys halfway through the year in the back of their closet. We'd put them all together and we'd give them back to them at Christmas. It's like, oh my God, I wanted one of these. It's like, it was in your cupboard for a year now, you know, but these are the types of things, and everything shifts. I mean, I know for some of my friends that have kids that are, you know, in that 6-7 category right now, it's all about these and iPads.
Yes.
That's all it is. That's all. They're at functions, and they got these things in their hands. And I remember one of our
I've seen at weddings they got headphones, like little kids. They got the headphones and they got the phone, like doing that stuff.
Yeah. And one of our friends had a kid, and they put one of those like armor boxes on their iPad, and the kid literally grew up on the iPad. Like and by the time he was like 4 or 5, he was showing his dad how to do things on the iPad. His dad had no idea how to do.
That's good and bad.
Yeah.
Well, it is good and bad. The guy loves Bob the Builder. The kid loves Bob the Builder. So he got into trucks and backhoes and all that kind of stuff. So who knows where that'll lead. But you know what I mean? It's different. I mean, when I was a kid, I was never in the house ever.
Yeah.
Like, I was literally from the morning till night. I was gone. I'd eat breakfast. I'd never eat lunch. And I'd always eat dinner. I'd be back for dinner. And it was never where are you? It's okay. Dan will be home at 5 o'clock, and 5 o'clock I come walking in the door. And you know, you wanted to do something, you go to the park. There's always going to be somebody to play basketball with. There you go play basketball. I mean, it shifts. You know, you needed to call your parents. You found a payphone.
Yeah.
How many of you have seen a payphone lately?
Yeah, you know, it's going to be a good indicator. And I can't wait to see the numbers on that. I know at one time UPS had to do I think it was 117 stops a day around peak season when we were getting around Christmas, right? Now you got Amazon with Prime and all of that. I wonder how many stops that they're doing on average per day right now, and the volume that they're pushing through their network. To our point, are we buying more toys, or is the economy and the recession kind of pressing that down a little bit? I'm just really curious what the numbers are going to show after this holiday spree here.
Yeah, I like to kind of see that, and
It
just
will be interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, and I really like what Dan said about experiences, because as a logistics person, my mindset is like, okay, like if I buy tickets to like go to like a Raptors game, like the sporting event, it's like, okay, look at the supply chain effect of like the popcorn, the beer, the pop, and all that stuff, right? And those are things I'm very like those that's what I love about logistics, right? Because at the end of the day, it might not be an actual toy, but you're giving that experience, and then you're seeing these other supply chain environments thrive.
Yes. Exactly. That's what it really comes down to. And I always say this, you know, we try to do the best that we can as logistics professionals, because let's face it, what we do pretty much impacts us as well. Because if we don't try to save money and streamline things and make it more efficient, you know, have a better cost structure, well, the end result is that we consumers are going to pay for our results across the board, whoever it is out there. You know, that's why I say, you know, logistics, it's not a small community, it's a large community, but everybody knows each other. And it's a shame that everybody goes in these tangents and off into their own little worlds, because when it really comes down to it, we're all affected by what we do and how we do it.
I love that, you know, and just come back to the experience as well with Dan, like the experience of you being a legit, like a supply chain specialist, like you're like Dan's told this story many times of like the experience he sold of having gift wrapping paper in the stores. He sold basically Christmas. When you think about it, right? He sold that. My parents always used to wrap gifts on Christmas Eve. So he sold that experience of my parents being in the bedroom, telling us to stay downstairs while they're wrapping our gifts and saying, keep out.
Yep.
So it's like for all of us, like it doesn't matter what industry we're kind of in, sell the experience to your prospect and your customers. Like you could be selling a water bottle, but like at the end of the day, it could be a situation where you're selling your customer, I'm selling being hydrated, being healthy, a healthier lifestyle and things like that, right? So I think
if you took the hat off and put the hair down and took a sip and went, oh, hydration, that would just make the commercial, brother. There you go. You got it.
Write that down.
You know what I'm saying? You got it, right? It's all good. You're there, Hollywood. Yeah, it is. It's experience.
Yep.
And listen, younger kids, a lot of them don't want the experience. They want the Barbie doll. Who was that? Maggie that had that up there?
Yeah,
the Barbie doll, camper, right? Yeah. Like, everyone, and she, they don't forget, right? Like we have amnesia sometimes as we get older. They don't forget. They know, and we used to have, it was all the time. Did Santa get the letter? Did Santa get the letter? Did Santa get the letter? And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure. Do you want me to call him? You have his number? I'm like, oh no, here we go. I shouldn't have said that. But you're just, yeah. But yeah, it's and as they get older, I think the experiences mean more long term.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That experience to give them something that's just like, wow. Yeah. Even to the point where experience last pre-COVID, we went to Niagara Falls. And we just said to the kids, let's just go away for 2 days. Like, let's just go. Like, well, I don't know. We got parties this weekend. We're like, listen, let's just go do something. So we kind of jumped in as a family and I'm like, oh, I don't really want to go. And then we went to like an illusionist. And they came out of the illusionist. They're like, oh my God, that was like the coolest thing ever. And they went from cranky wanting to, Snapchat their friends with the rents. They call us the rents. With the rents. And, they're forcing us to Niagara. There's nothing really to do in Niagara. And then there was fireworks and casino. And my daughter and I had to stay. I stayed with my daughter. My wife took my son to the casino. So, like, it became this experience, which can happen an hour from home. It doesn't have to happen on a Caribbean island. It can happen an hour from home.
Yeah.
When we were on vacation, it's like, okay, we're on vacation. And when the kids were really young, I'd say to my wife, I'd say, okay, so what are we going to do? Let's go on a bunch of excursions to give them that, snorkeling at 6 years old and having all the fish come up and, and they talk about it for 6 months. Right. And my son and I got into scuba diving. And then now that's like the first thing that we get signed up for when we land on an island is scuba. But yeah, for me and my wife now, it's all about the experience.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of cool because, like I was telling you, Dan, like there was a report yesterday from Deloitte Canada saying that they're expecting that holiday spending is going to be down 17% across the board. Obviously, inflation, high cost of living kind of going up. You bring up a great point about experiences. Just a question to both of you guys. Have you guys ever traveled, like taking your family away during the Christmas time? Because I was just thinking as you were kind of talking, it's like, hey, I don't remember what I got when I was 4 years old or 5 years old on Christmas, but I remember the time that my parents took me away for Christmas, or the time I went to the zoo. So have you guys gone away? And is that a factor that you guys are looking at to possibly do in future years to go away?
We've wanted to do it for years. Our kids are, my son's like, no problem, let's do it. But my daughter doesn't want to go away. She wants to be home. She likes to, I like to wake up in my own bed and walk downstairs and have my tree. She still likes that, Christmas kind of all the family walking down the stairs together, opening up some stockings while I cook breakfast. She loves that kind of routine. Whereas I would love to, listen, it would be weird because I love snow, it doesn't feel like Christmas unless there's white gold on the ground. But I'd love to wake up on a Caribbean island and say, hey, it's a pretty cool Christmas morning.
Yeah. Yeah, no, when I was younger, we used to go away with my parents. We lived in New Jersey and used to go up into New England to my grandparents' house. But, as we got older, and my daughter, she's going to be almost 30 now, and she does her own thing. We talk about it. Hey, let's go away. One Christmas, we got some airfare in January. We used it and went away, something like that. But it's not as big as it was when we were kids. When we were kids, it was just absolutely beyond mayhem, chaotic, coming down. It was like screw breakfast, and we just dove into the tree and just packages just started blowing up all over the place. It was disorder. It just total disorder. Not so much now, and that's the thing that's, we lived in the Courier and Ives generation where people were going through the streets and smiling and shopping. You don't see that anymore because it's all online. We missed that experience. That was a huge experience for all of our families, what we used to do in our youth. And it's a shame, but it's those things that you remember, just like you're doing things with your kids and creating those memories and experience. So even though it's not materialistic, it's still embedded into their head, and they can take that throughout their whole lives and look at a picture or a souvenir or something of where they've gone to. So there's so many different ways of getting those types of experience and taking it with you.
For me, that experience side, since I got cancer, has 100-fold
Exploded.
100-fold. Like, for me, it's like, okay, buy them the next Call of Duty, or put that into an experience. And for me, I look at it, and this was one of the big issues I had when I was having a lot of problems getting back to me, was because, you have all these goals, and then you get something like cancer, where you stop and you reflect on your life. Like, they told me, Dan, it's non-life threatening. It'll be solved. Doesn't matter. You reflect on your life, and you're like, I should have done the Brant's backcountry adventure. I should have gone to the Coliseum. I should have, for me, one of the biggest regrets I had was when I was a sales trainer at a corporation. It was my 10th wedding anniversary, and I wanted to take my wife away to Rome so we can do the Coliseum, the whole loop in Rome. And I put in for my vacation, and I went to go book the flights, and I got told I cannot take 2 weeks. A manager cannot take 2 weeks. And I lost that opportunity because I never fought the system.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for me, that was a regret. I'll always regret, because that's where we wanted to go. So you have all these things hit your head. Right. And it's unfortunate that it takes something as severe, something as crazy as cancer to do that. And so, like we agreed from now on, everything is an experience, because that's also adds to your legacy, right? When you leave.
Oh yeah.
And the kids will show their kids, and this is the picture we went here, and we climbed this cool, we went swimming with sharks, or we, all this kind of stuff. And it's the experiences that make life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny how, like, your career comes up when you kind of go away. Like, I know one time, anytime we got to go for dinner, like, you get like the little sugar packet. You're like, I wonder who the fuck makes these. Sorry. I wonder who makes these, or the sugar salt packets. Like, who makes these, And then it's like, okay, let me just put this in my phone and I'll give them a call on Monday. Right. And it's one of those.
Swore.
I know. Right. Sorry, guys.
Ryan.
Oh my God, man. Shameful.
Yeah,
I know.
Listen, you're always, if you're a high performing salesman, you're always on the look.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Like, I remember when I first started, I wanted Home Depot so bad.
Me too.
And I'm going through Home Depot, and I'm like, okay, Home Depot's not getting back to me. They obviously don't like me. So I'm gonna come at Home Depot from like 15 different angles. So I'm gonna be so good, they're not gonna be able to ignore me. How do I do it? So I went through Home Depot, and I literally was in Home Depot for probably 3 hours. And I wrote down every single company that had a name on a product in Home Depot. And I first started in New Jersey, and I went in, and in Newark, New Jersey, just outside Newark, New Jersey, custom building products. And they created, they were like concrete and motor mix for tiles and stuff. And so I called them, and within like 3 weeks, we were doing 15 loads a week into Home Depot. Right. Then I called Anatolia Tile, who shipped a ton into Home Depot, and then like all these things. So I just started hitting them from every angle, right? And for me, that was an experience in realizing the unlimitedness of sales.
Absolutely.
Jeff, have you ever come up was there like a product that you're like, you know what, you just randomly shopping or doing something and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna give him a call, and you got a success story about it?
No, but just a different perspective, go into a bar and have a drink, and then we got on the conversation of logistics, and so he goes, man, this beer is really expensive, and I was like, how do you think this got here? And here's the cost, and start breaking it down on the supply chain of why the cost is and how the beer got into your glass and all the cost factors of how they created that glass and the material and the raw material, and just like, oh yeah, now I get it. Some people just take this cup for granted and they don't really understand the complexity of how this cup got into your hand and how the liquid got into the cup. I mean, it's not as simple as you just buying it from a store and pouring the contents in the cup and drinking it. It's a lot more. It's you dig into it, and that's what I love doing. When I'm with friends and stuff like that, we talk about all different things like that. So
it must be fun at bars, man.
Well, I don't try to, because you try to break away from business, but those things come up, and then oh man, that thing cost a lot of money, and all right, here we go. So, but it's good. When you kind of explain it, you can't really explain it to somebody, but you kind of give them a better perspective of, why things are the way they are and why they cost so much. Yeah,
it's actually funny because like I've tried to, even like with your wives, right? Like, do they know exactly what you do? Like, I've tried to explain what I do to my wife, and she still doesn't understand it. So anytime she sees like something on the news about inflation or something like that, she'll look at me. She'll be like, supply. She raised her hands and like supply chain, and it's like one of those things, right? Kind of go from there.
Yep, I got to get the geek squad over here. I'm getting tired of it.
Oh yeah, it's kind of a thing to wrap up. So, boys, honestly, want to thank Dean for coming out this morning. We'll be back at it next Wednesday with a action pack with data driven, everything like that. Want to thank everybody for coming out this morning. We will be hitting the replays again at 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern time on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube as well. If you found value in this video, please like, share, comment, and send it to a friend today. And hopefully it makes your day better.
Hold on, before you go, have you guys ever done that? So how Dean was talking today is kind of the way when I'm messing with a telemarketer on my cell phone, or I'll say like 3 words and I'll cut out, and I'll skip 5 words later, and then I'll say something and I'll cut out, and he's like, I can't really hear you. And I'm like, and I do it over and over and over. And it just reminded me what Dean today was just like that. And I was like, oh, this is what it sounds like on the other end. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to the podcast, just to listen to the raw audio to kind of like make it out and like, okay guys, like this is what we talked about today.
More dead silence on today's podcast than ever.
Hey man, we've had some technical difficulties, but we've definitely bounced back, right? So
hopefully
Restream will get their act together in the next day or two, and we'll be back to normal.
There you go.
All right, boys. Great day.
All right,
see you guys.
Have a good day, everybody.
See you tomorrow.
Centurion Trucking. Our motto is people before profit. Today's market requires more transparency, consistency, and focus on what our clients need to win. Centurion Trucking and American Logistics are poised to help their clients achieve and surpass their targets. If you're looking for a team that honors your needs, dreams, and aspirations, then get a hold of Daman at American Logistics or Centurion Trucking and start designing your career